Welcome again, Adeyanju, to Sahati.
Yes, thank you for having me on the show again.
The call for Pantami's resignation has reached the fever pitch among Nigerians. We remember that your organization, Concerned Nigeria, has been in the forefront of calling for his resignation, an investigation by the security services. Let's find out how we were in the know that you were supposed to write another letter today. I don't know whether that has gone out too. That still works. So what's the status there?
Yes, basically our involvement in the call for the resignation and sacking of Sheikh Pantami is born out of the fact that this is a multi-religious, multi-ethnic country. This is not an Islamic country. And therefore, when people who are just next door neighbors to the president, who are just 2 or 3 steps close to the number one seat in the country, should be people who are not seen as extremists or who have not expressed extremist views in the past. The allegations against Issa Pantami is that he's a terrorist sympathizer, is a sympathizer of Al-Qaeda, Taliban and other deadly terrorist groups, and that he has called many people unbelievers who do not subscribe to his religious views, and that he had also said he loves to see when unbelievers are killed. And we do not know who he refers to as unbelievers, or whether he's in a position to judge human beings to determine who among them is unbelievers and who should be killed. Again, there are several allegations about his sordid past and the extremist views that he had expressed. And even in Pantami's response to these allegations, Pantami has confirmed these allegations to be true. Pantami, ironically, did not even renounce these views. He just said in the audio he made that for him expressing those views is left for whoever interprets them the way they like. So he has not shown remorse, and even if he had shown remorse and renounced those views or repented, our view is that terrorists and their sympathizers don't repent. They never do. They're only looking for opportunities to get close to power so that they can strike harder. So for us, we believe that it is no longer tenable for Sheikh Issa Pantami to continue to be a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And this is why we have joined the advocacy calling for his resignation and sack. Yes, we had written to the U.S. Embassy, pleading with the embassy to place him permanently on their terrorist watch list. We had also written to the DSS, who should have had the privileged information, who should have advised the president, not to have and allow such a person to be minister.
Let me take you up on that, because one begins to wonder that how could he have been screened? I mean, one expected that the security services should have at least screened him out, vetting him before presenting him to the National Assembly and to the Senate. And one begins to wonder, how did he scale through, considering the fact that even the Senate itself is also culpable. I mean, we know they never conducted an open, transparent, solemn, confirmation hearing, and we've had instances where they just ask nominees to bow and go, or pass with light routine and superficial interrogation. So one wonders, and I would like to get your view on this: has the entire oversight institution in Nigeria collapsed?
Well, there's a form of collapse, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and it's about the level of how weak our institutions are. We have weak institutions in this part of the world. The institutions are human being centered, not organizational centered. So these institutions revolve around individuals instead of revolving around policy, and organizational framework. So that's why we have weak institutions in this part of the world. And I have been one of the advocates who have been screaming for strong institutions and weak individuals, because the stronger the individuals are, the weaker the institutions. So, and these oversight institutions are not exempted from the Nigerian collapse institutional psyche, and I believe, in my view, that yes, the SSS, after our letter to the SSS, I have strangely found out that the SSS had warned the president about this man. Strangely, from some of my sources, I found out that the SSS actually warned the president about this man, and that, the president, his usual self, look at the SSS warned the president against Magu. But the president kept Magu 4 years without confirmation after the warning of the SSS. If you go and read the report of the SSS on Magu, it's just sad that the president, can disregard an institution such as the SSS to go ahead, to keep someone like that in office for 4 years. And the president is going to do the same thing on Pantami if care is not taken. And that's why my sources tell me that the SSS, they are very embarrassed by the fact that they can be brought into disrepute and disgrace when they have not done anything to warrant such, because my sources tell me that they actually advised and warned that this is this man's antecedent. However, you see, the president when he's hell-bent on doing something, he goes ahead to do it. After all, we have had rumors that Issa Pantami is one of the president's spiritual advisors. So it goes beyond him just being a member of his cabinet. They also have close religious affinity together with the president. So you can see that that's the challenge. Again, it will interest you to know that today we have just written to the chief of staff to the president, and we have also, the letter was couched in such a way that it is for the president's attention. The reason why we have written to the chief of staff to the president is because the chief of staff to the president is the gatekeeper of the president. These are the close people who should know better, who should advise the president. We wrote to the chief of staff to the president in his capacity as the gatekeeper and also as an ex-diplomat, somebody who has been at the UN, who knows how the international community, the politics of the international community. We have advised him that it is no longer tenable for Issa Pantami to remain minister, despite his closeness with the president, whether on religious grounds, whether because he's a spiritual advisor, that it is in the best interest of Nigeria to save Nigeria from further disgrace in the international community. Because we also alerted the chief of staff to inform the president that if Malami is kept on as minister, several countries will refuse to share information with Nigeria because of this. And we also drew to the attention of the chief of staff that even in Saudi Arabia, Mr. Pantami, after his open admission to having supported or having been a sympathizer to Al-Qaeda, Taliban, and other terrorist groups, that even in Saudi Arabia, he will no longer be a minister. So, and we urge the chief of staff to, advise the president to do the right thing. That it's in the best interest of the nation that Pantami should be made to go. Again, we drew the attention of the chief of staff and the president in our letter to the fact that when Kemi Adeyanju, former Minister of Finance, and Babachi Lawal, former Secretary of Government of the Federation, were alleged of wrongdoing, both Christians, that they were sacked. So the Pantami's case should not be different. You understand? And these are logical, arguments. And again, we drew the attention of the chief of staff to another germane point that he will recall that since the inception of the President Muhammadu Buhari's government, several people have alleged him of plots to Islamize the country. So this is an opportunity for him to prove that such allegations are false and unfounded, by distancing himself, that he cannot have a terrorist sympathizer in cabinet who can brief members of the terrorist groups in the world about the position of Nigeria, who has access to the vital information of all Nigerians. The Ministry of Communication is too sensitive to put in a man's hand that people are suspicious of. Must be put in the hand of a patriot, somebody who Nigerians, whether Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever religion or idol worshiper, whatever thing you believe in, can trust the person. And I wish to also draw the attention of Nigerians to the position of the Supreme Court in Abiola versus Federal Republic of Nigeria. What the Supreme Court said about impartiality is that if the ordinary man goes home thinking that the judge is partial, that it destroys the image of the judiciary. And that is why when we talk about judges who have vested interests, they must recuse themselves from such cases. That's what that was the lesson that the Supreme Court was trying to pass. Why it could not entertain that matter. Because the judges of the Supreme Court then, Abiola had written things, his newspaper had written things against them. And now they were sitting in a matter concerning him. So the ministry is too sensitive for Issa Pantami, to be. President Buhari can create an advisory role for him since he so loves him. He can create maybe spiritual advisor and appoint him as advisor on spiritual matters. But for him to, allow Issa Pantami to remain in office as Minister of Communication, to have all our vital details as citizens, it's just a great disservice to the country.
Questions have been raised about Buhari's appointment and those who surround himself with. It's the elevation of Pantami has actually exposed the ridiculous state of Nigeria finds itself. And all around the president, we have mediocre, incompetent ministers and questionable ministers with questionable compromises. One begins to wonder, what is the yardstick that Buhari is using for his appointment? And do you see anything, coming out of the call, despite the fact that you have written to his chief of staff?
You see, if you look at the decline in value of ministers, look at under Obasanjo, look at the caliber of ministers. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the lights. Then you look at the caliber of ministers we have. Look at the person that replaced Pantami. Look at Adebayo Shitu. Someone like that being Minister of Communication. They look at Pantami replacing a Mobolaji Johnson. So you can see that the quality of appointees suggests mediocrity. So, and one cannot really blame the president because you can't give what you don't have, and this is the best that the president has. The president cannot do anything better. The Issa Pantamis of this world, these are people in his circle, these are the people he knows. So that's the kind of quality, the output that can come out from his quality base. So if Buhari begins to bring out Harvard people from, then we will be surprised, where is Buhari getting advice and all these people from? So when we said in 2015 that we do not hate Buhari, we just don't like the age of his ideas. This was what we meant. That the age of his ideas, people like these, the Adamus of this world and all these people, so those are the kind of people that Buhari can offer, and so Nigerians should not be surprised by the outcomes that we are seeing. However, we are saying on this Pantami issue that the president must do right. The president must keep the issue of religion aside. He must keep the issue of his relationship with Pantami aside. You understand? Or whatever friendship that they have, the president should do right by the country. The president should do right because other countries are watching. And whatever the president does, and the president, he did it when Babaji Lawal was involved. Kemi Adeyanju was involved, Christians. So now that he's somebody who is very close to and who is a member of his religion has been involved, it is a perfect opportunity for the president to prove all these things people keep saying about me, about nepotism, religious bigotry is not true. Look at what I've done to somebody I'm very close to, a religious leader, So the president has a great opportunity to prove his critics wrong. So we hope that the president he will do the right thing.
Now, let me get your perspective on this and your reaction on this. Despite the fact that there's been call for Pantami to be prosecuted and for supporting terrorism, and if possible, and if found culpable, others have actually said or alleged that Pantami is being persecuted for initiating reforms in the telecommunications sector. What's your view on this?
There's no reform Pantami is initiating. This whole issue of name, the waste of time. What will name solve? They know where they meet terrorists. They know where. It was Pantami not debating with Yusuf, leader of Boko Haram, before. So if you think Pantami wants to see Shekau, he doesn't know how to go and see Shekau. Forget these people. So if kidnappers kidnap somebody, they will kidnap all the people. The kidnappers will use their phones, the people that they've kidnapped, to contact the family. So how does NIM solve Boko Haram issue or bandit? Look at in the 21st century, look at the archaic mentality of our leaders. So I don't understand where these people, they just devise these things to loot money. It's not to solve any problem. There is no reform that these guys are just jokers. They are not reforming anything. So students of university in Kaduna, private university in Kaduna have just been abducted now. So you want to tell me that it's NIN that will stop that? Or what reform? So what reform? They know these people. A religious leader is currently meeting bandits all over the country. You want to tell me that the security agencies do not know where these bandits are? That is a religious leader that knows the whereabouts of bandits more than these religious leaders? No! So anyhow you look at it, imagine if this was under Jonathan and Orisa Jafo was meeting with Boko Haram members. Imagine what people would say. And time and time again, we have been saying it. Those who come to equity must come with clean hands. In fact, this Pantami today that has used his supporters to declare fatwa on me and he endorsed it, this is somebody who called people unbelievers under Jonathan. There was nothing this man didn't say against Jonathan and PDP members. Pantami has not received 5% of the criticism he gave the Jonathan administration, or 5% criticism that he gave the PDP when they were in government. These are people who criticize others. Now they're in government, they don't want to be criticized. They don't want to be held accountable. But these were people who were criticizing people when they were in power. So I do not see why people should get angry because their citizens are asking them to do what is right. I do not see when Kemi Adeyanju was being removed or criticized. Why didn't Christians say it was an attack on Christianity? Now some of his followers who believe in his extremist views, who he has commissioned against me, are saying that my criticism of Mr. Pantami is a crime against their religion. So you can see, and this is why terrorism in the Sahel is flourishing, because you have so many of these leaders who just brainwash people, who get young people. Look at what has happened in Chad, driven by extremists, going up and down, killing innocent people, because these religious leaders brainwash them, so they go about doing the wrong thing, thinking they are doing what is right.
Certainly the credibility of the ministers actually run out. And one begins to wonder that how could such a person, be saddled with the responsibility of having, the records of, millions of Nigerians, considering the fact that he's in a policy-making position. Shouldn't this be of concern to us?
Yes. You see, it's not only about him having records of almost every vital organ of government in Nigeria. He sits in council. He meets with the president. The level of information he has access to is unbelievable, unimaginable. So imagine if he hands over these things to anybody else. So in the interest of national security, which I believe this is what the SSS, the NIA, and all security agencies must be worried about. I believe that people are worried about this, and I believe that everybody cannot just be keeping quiet in the country. People must be drawing these things to the attention of the president. But the president is somebody who, if he wants to do something, no matter the level of advice you give him, is that thing that he wants to do that he will still do. So this is the challenge we have found ourselves in. That there is no how that anybody can explain to me that the security agencies in the country will not be worried by all these allegations and counter-allegations against Mr. Pantami. There is no how. There's just no how.
How do we get out of this doldrum, as a matter of fact? Because the deficient leadership refused to abide by global best practices in governance.
Yes. You see, I think it was Harry Truman that said that the buck stops on the table of the president. He said the buck stops on my table. Harry Truman, he said it, he was president of the United States. I believe that the buck stops at the table of the president. Not you, not me, not even Issa Pantami, not even the SSS DG, not the NIA director, not the Inspector of Police. The buck stops on the table of them, because he's the president that hires and fires these people. He who hires and fires, it is the president that we should blame for the caliber of Pantami. The Pantamis of this world have been brought upon us as a plague. So it is the president that we should blame, and we must stop shifting the buck. But when we try to say, oh no, it's because of, no, it's the president. The president is to blame for the decay. The president is to be blamed for the low output. The president is to be blamed for all the embarrassment that Nigeria is facing as regards to this issue. So, only the president can correct it. Only the president. And like Martin Luther King will always say, that it's never too late to do what is right. And like I always appeal to the president, that no matter how many wrongs the president must have done, no matter how he has always gotten it wrong, it is never too late to do what is right. And my appeal to the president on this subject matter, the president should do right. There are more than 200 million Nigerians who are willing and eager to contribute their quota, to ensure that the right thing is done in this country. There are information technology professors, experts in this country, both in and outside this country, that will do a better job 2 million times than Issa Pantami. So Issa Pantami's umbilical cord is not tied to the Ministry of Communication. So the president must cut this alliance to also ensure that he is not in any way supporting the actions of the Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Adeyanju. We really appreciate your insightful analysis and perspective on these issues.
Thank you so much.